and welcome to today's video. My name is Jeannie and I'm going to be talking about channel 18, which is the channel of inspiration. Because I do have this channel in my profile in my chart. I'm going to give you a little bit of background or just some information to keep in mind as I'm going through this. I am a 6'2" self-projected projector. I have my head, ajna, throat, and G Center defined, and they're defined through the channels right down the middle. This is the only channel that I have that is completely at a unconscious level, so I hesitated a little bit about talking about this because I'm like, wait, do I have enough awareness around this channel and how it shows up in my life? But once I started diving deeper into the information, I'm like, okay, yeah, I've seen how this has played out in my life. So I'm going to be adding a little bit of personal bits and pieces more towards the end. But let's get started. This channel is makes up part of individual circuitry, and it's in the knowing circuit specifically. You've got gate 1, which is at the throat center, and it's the gate of self-expression that connects to gate 8, which is in the G Center, and this is the gate of contribution, and it has to do with leadership. So with gate 1, this is your doorway to creatively expressing a mutative perspective. Again, we're dealing with concepts or keynotes of mutation, change, newness, bringing the next level stuff, new stuff into the world. So again, it's your doorway to creatively expressing a mutative perspective, either through your auric presence or in a form that can be promoted and displayed for all the other people to experience. So here we have you're gonna want to get really comfortable with being seen, because you are designed to draw attention without even meaning to. So it takes a lot of courage to stand out from the crowd and to inspire others to be equally bold. And here we're it's not if you have this channel, it's not you want them to imitate you. It's you really inspire others to express themselves in their own unique ways. We're not looking to create copycats, copycat versions of ourselves. I think for me it's kind of a little bit insulting in a sense if I feel the underlying intention is to copy, because I feel that person is robbing themselves of expressing themselves. They're expressing their unique expression of who they are, who they want to be as they're going through life. So I hope that makes sense. Okay, so gate 1 creates this drive and deep need to express yourself in unique and creative ways. We're not necessarily concerned with being the best, but we just simply want to live out our authentic individuality. When we're happily absorbed in doing our own thing, we're not really aware that we're attracting the attention of others, and I really resonated with this. You're gonna make the biggest impact by really being true to your creative process. So you want to be true to what you're doing and how you're doing it, and kind of really tuning into how do I want to do it. A lot of, again, individual expression. Your creativity is going to inspire others through your example, and for your impact to be properly felt and appreciated, it must be seen or heard. So this requires interaction with the world and waiting for an invitation, because this is a projected channel. And I want to emphasize if you're a projector, double awareness and on the fact that it's just going to work out better when you have an invitation. Now when we're looking at gate 8, this is the gate of contribution. It's the voice, I know I can contribute or not. So your contribution will come either through a public display of your own individual lifestyle, directions, and creations, or by empowering and publicly promoting others. You're drawn towards what is novel and innovative, and you you'll find yourself attracting other people's attention to it. Once you get people's attention, all you can do is lead by example. So it's like, if others wish to follow, they will. And again, because we're dealing with individual circuitry, it's really important to not force or push things or have the intention of like, oh, I'm gonna let myself be seen so that other people follow me and I inspire others. Like, we don't want to have that underlying vibe, because if we allow the process to unfold naturally and we allow others the space to decide whether or not they will follow, it's just going to work better. And it's more about like quietly impacting the collective and shifting the tribe's orientation over time. So this requires a lot of patience. Unless your innovative contributions are embraced and incorporated in some way by the collective and the tribe, they will not take hold. So it can get very lonely, and again, it takes time. And if there's no invitation, like if you still continue without having that invitation, society's attention or their reaction can be quite negative. So when you have this channel, living as an individual is an art, and again, you're designed to get the public's attention. You're here to be recognized for your leadership and guidance. It's like you're a walking inspiration. You can automatically know how to take charge of situations and lead by example. You have a strong sense of identity and are someone others trust and on whom they can rely on. You can motivate people and make things happen. You sense an inner resistance and frustration when your decisions are unappreciated. So again, like lots of themes of bitterness. Even if you're not a projector, because this is a projected channel, you could experience bitterness. You have an impact on the world around you by living and fully expressing the unique nature of your identity. Impact is not achieved with words or explanations, but by example. You model your individual direction. You do it, you live it, and when this channel is connected to a motor, your contribution has the potential to be even more impressive. You can also bring such unusual creativity into the world that you can end up being a role model who inspires others to be equally bold. Again, a lot of inspiration, role model, keynotes, and things like that. When you have a personal profile, which is like the smaller number comes first, or it's also known as a right angle profile, which would be the 1 3 1 4 2 4 2 5 3 5 3 6 and 4 6. You better the world by bettering yourself. So you don't need to interact with others to fully fulfill your purpose. So I find like, even though I don't have a personal profile, a lot of these characteristics I still resonate with. So if it resonates, trust yourself. The characteristics are: the nature of your direction is to move towards beauty, and it's powered by your truth. You're designed to model what it means to be self-expressed, creative individual, and attract the attention of others. And as you do, you can potentially change their perspective. You inspire new directions in others and free them to express their own uniqueness creatively. And this is kind of like a music, like if you go to a concert or you watch someone play an instrument and you get so inspired by just watching them play that now you want to learn how to play an instrument. It's kind of like that vibe. In order for your leadership by example to have an impact, it must come from a place of authentic personal authority that is safe from conditioning influences. So we definitely want to look at any conditioning and work through that so that we can have like greater opportunities to positively impact those around us. We also need to recognize that our potential to inspire and empower others is a co-creation between your dedication to living your individuality, which will naturally attract attention on its own, and others' recognition of your individuality. So it's like a two-way street. You have to recognize it and others have to recognize it, so that there's like the full potential gets lived out or gets played out. Channel 1-8 lacks built-in social skills, which is very true. So it's important for us to develop the skills that are needed to effectively communicate what we are here to contribute, which again is going to mean cultivating patience to wait for the correct timing to do so, waiting for the invitation. The key to our success is being recognized, accepted, and applauded for our individuality and the creative impact you promote. Now, if you're looking at a transpersonal profile, where the bigger number comes first, also known as like a left angle profile, which is the 5'1", 5'2", 6'2", and 6'3", you better yourself by bettering the world. So you fulfill your purpose by interacting with other people, and this is something that has been coming up a lot for me, where I tend to, I've had to do a lot of work around my fear of people, to put it very in a nutshell, and I keep on getting this message of you need to work with people, and I'm like, okay, I've been opening up to that. Individual style leaders that mutate or empower by example or draw others along with them by initiating changes in the way people see, act, and think about life, truth, and the nature of beauty. So we're here to change the way people see things and do things and think about things. You know how to live your uniqueness with exuberance, and in the process you empower others to be their own unique, inspiring, and differentiated selves. So some of the suggestions, we're going to go into the suggestions now. This is going to be a really short video compared to the other ones. It's a good thing. Okay, suggestions. One of the things that I found is that they suggest that you don't volunteer for things, because as an individual you're meant to be recognized by personal invitation. So let's say there's something that you really want to do and they're kind of looking for volunteers. You don't want to be the first person to raise your hand. Now, as I was thinking about this, I want to, just from my perspective, I want to encourage you to be careful to not go into the mindset of I have to wait for an invitation for that too, or gonna have to wait for an invitation for the thing that sounds really cool and that I really want to do. You don't want to go into already kind of blocking that invitation. For me, what it's felt like is if I hear about something, I'll be oh, that sounds like fun. I think I would be interested in that. So it feels for me like an inner knowing, this feeling of yeah, I'd like to do that, and I'm open for an invitation for that thing. So it's energetically I raise my hand, but there's no neediness underneath it, where it's I recognize that I would be really good for that, and that magnetizes and draws the invitation towards me without having to ask for it or raise my hand. Because this channel is part part of individual circuitry. Individual circuitry has a lot of an acoustic nature to it, an acoustic quality. So you're going to be someone who has an ear for what sounds right about people, projects, places, and music, and you're always tuning into your environment and working out the best direction to go for it based on the quality of what you hear. If something doesn't sound right, you will not proceed, and I really resonated with this. So start paying attention to when you're in a situation. You might already do this, but again, the more awareness you create around this, I feel the smoother your life starts to flow. So start asking yourself questions wait, how does this sound? How does this invitation sound? Or how does this person sound? Create more awareness around what you're picking up on. I find for me it's a very intuitive process, and it tends to be pretty quickly. It tends to happen really pretty quickly, and sometimes I won't really it happens so fast that I won't really know like why I feel like it's not the right thing, or it's not like the right person or the right way to go. But it's the sound. So again, ask yourself, as you're interacting with people or going around your day, like maybe create that intention of like to move through your day, focusing on how things sound, and see how that shifts your experience and makes things easier. You also want to watch the tone of your voice. Tone is going to affect the outcome of the guidance you give as much as what you say. So for example, like if you're feeling nervous as you speak, even though like you may not look nervous, your audience will pick up on it. So you want to, like, for me it feels like feeling really grounded in what I want to say and what I have to say, so that you speak with clarity and assurance, confidence, kind of like authority, but not with like an underlying theme of control, of like more of like a empowering sense of authority. When you're able to do that, everyone's going to listen and they're going to take note. Another suggestion is recognize that you have the gift to empower others. And this is one that I've really been working on integrating, because this channel for me shows up in an unconscious way. Like other people notice this about me, and I've noticed, like when I think back, the way people have looked at me and like treated me, I can see like their awe of me, and it would always be very triggering to me, because like I didn't understand like why they would look at me with like such awe and like that type of thing. And I remember that like when I asked my mom, like I don't understand like why people look at me differently, because like there were times where like I'd be walking with a girlfriend in a public space, and I could sense that people were turning to look at me. But for me, like even though I could sense it, it's not like it bothered me a little bit, because when I didn't understand it, and two, like it wasn't my intention to draw the attention. And it was very like not only triggering but painful for me, because like for example, this instance with my friend, she also picked up on that people were literally turning their heads. Like it was so obvious that for me it was like embarrassing, and I didn't think I was just walking, that's all I was doing. Where she said to me like, oh my gosh, like you're turning heads, but she said it in a way where I could tell like she felt left out or hurt. So for me, like already being someone who has had a lot of I'm gonna use the word issues, but like issues with connecting with people because of a lot of individual circuitry that I didn't know was a thing. I would get so upset, because I'm like, well, I want to have friends, but if they're getting triggered because I'm drawing attention, like what do I do there? Like I can't, it's from people I don't even know, like I can't even say to them like stop looking at me, because like it just happens. And again, like for me, like I knew it wasn't my intention to draw attention, but it's not like I didn't know if she knew that. So when I asked my mom, like I don't understand like why people look at me like that, and like I do have a unique sense of style that I was able to express more freely before I gained a lot of weight. So I could see how people would look at me for the way I dress. But even when I thought I was like very simply dressed compared to like other times, I still drew a lot of attention. So when I'm asking her, like, explain this to me, like I don't understand, the way she explained it, she worded it like it's like you have this presence about you that draws people's attention. And this is something that I mentioned, I think, earlier, where I was talking about, where to go? I meant to highlight it. That auric, is it in the beginning? Okay, I can't find it in my notes, I can't see it, but that auric presence. So for me, it's also been, well, when she told me this, I was like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, I still don't understand. But again, because this was an unconscious energy for me. So it's been, like, I've been doing a lot of work about really owning the power of my energetic field, which, especially if you're a projector, because we have that penetrating aura, our aura will be noticed. Our energetic field will be noticed because it penetrates, right? So I've been doing a lot of work around owning it, liking it, loving it, embracing it. And again, like with the example with the friend I gave, back then I didn't know how to use this gift in a way that empowered. So what I ended up doing was isolating myself, and I really, because like for me it was, I didn't want to hurt my friends. Like another thing that happened that comes to mind is like once we were going to take a group picture, and I had another friend say, well, I don't want to stand next to Jeannie because like she's, you know, the her concern was like the difference in appearance, like she's too pretty to stand next to, essentially is what she said. And it hurt me because I'm like, well, first of all, my initial thought in my brain was like, if like I don't even photograph that well. I really don't. Like, I'm not super photogenic. Like I'm not. So when she said that, I'm like, why? Like, if she only knew that I don't really photograph well, I think I look a lot better in person than in photograph. Like, it takes a couple shots to find like one that I'm like, oh yeah, I really like that one. But again, that not understanding that this essentially could be like where the issue is coming from, I didn't know how to use this gift to empower others. So I preferred to just be off on my own, do my own thing, and spend a lot of time with Mom because I knew like she wouldn't get triggered. She really like celebrated and helped me, and like empowered me and encouraged me to express myself, you know, mainly through fashion. And it's not like I was willing or wanting to change the way I dress, because when like I noticed it didn't make a difference what I wore really, I still drew attention. So again, like I just got used to being alone, and that's one of the things that like I've also really worked on healing, on how to use this gift to empower others and to encourage them to express themselves in their own unique way. So if you have this channel, especially at an unconscious level, I want to say the work is going to be on like deconditioning. I would say it's like the G Center, which is the identity center. We want to stop comparing ourselves to others because we're just here to do things differently. And when we're looking to see what others are doing, we dim our sparkle. Like, we're just don't just stop looking at what others are doing. Learn to stay in your lane. And this is something that like I'm still working on, and really diving into like all the aspects of individual keynotes that I have in my chart has really helped me remember, okay, stop comparing yourself. You're not here to do what others are doing. You're here to be yourself, and in doing so you help others. So ask yourself, how much are you watching what others are doing versus just doing your own thing? Deconditioning that G Center. I find like traditionally the way I was taught human design was to focus on the undefined centers, and I always had issues with that because I really saw that, like, from my personal perspective, I had more issues with centers that were defined versus undefined. So if you're watching, well, you might not have this channel, but if you do have this channel, your G Center is defined. So see if there's work to be done around the G Center so that you can really, really step into being being comfortable with being you and expressing that. So other questions to ask yourself, like, how do you want to express yourself? Is it through fashion? Is it through music? Through your voice, movement, dance? Look at different forms of expression and see what's the first thing that pops into mind. For me, it's always fashion. And again, I want to emphasize deconditioning the G Center, because even though I have a defined G Center, I find that I had a lot of conditioning around, like, being taught, like, who I was supposed to be, like, as a good daughter, as, you know, a lot of religious conditioning as well, that I didn't realize was there until, like, after my mom passed away, and there was kind of, like, no one that I could really trust to guide me. That's where I really found myself going through kind of like an identity crisis, where I'm like, who am I? Like, I don't know who I am without my mom in this world. So I really want to emphasize the G Center. Another thing that I wrote down here is getting really comfortable with being seen, especially if you're a projector. I hear there's a lot of talk around the fear of being seen, and I want to challenge that a little bit, because when I was thinking back on, like, my experience, I realized that when I was giving a presentation, or when I was being in front of a big audience, like, I've been in front of a group of like 200, 300 people speaking. I've been in front of anywhere, I don't remember, I think the biggest group was around 3,000, maybe a little over 3,000 people, and I didn't feel nervous. I felt very comfortable. But there was this one time, oh my gosh, sorry, I went to the grocery store, and I set an intention to practice expanding my abundance. So I saw this man that was near the store playing the flute, and I wanted to tip him, you know, as a way to practice giving, and I needed change. So I went to do the grocery shopping first, and then when I came out, I went to give him change. But my plan was to just put the change in the jar and just go home. But I put the change in the jar, and he looks at me and he's like, oh, and I have a song for you. I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. And I actually didn't say, like, well, I don't really want a song. I paused, because again, like, I'm like, okay, this is gonna give me an opportunity to practice receiving. And what I noticed is that, like, as he was playing this song, because he specifically looked at me and was like, I have a song for you, I started to tear up and feel so uncomfortable. And I could not wait for this man to finish playing the song, because I was just, again, so on the verge of tears. And I couldn't understand where this was coming from. And as I, you know, processed that and with curiosity, I'm like, wait, what happened here? I realized that when it was a more like intimate setting, like not presentation mode, not teaching mode, not, you know, that type of mode where there's kind of like, I don't want to say this, kind of like, it's more of what I'm doing, I guess. When it was like really allowing people to see me, like who I am at my core, I had such trouble receiving that. And it was kind of like, because normally what they describe this as a fear of being seen. But I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's a fear of being seen, but there's more to this. And the more I asked myself, the more I like, let's go deeper, I realized it had to do with a fear of not being worthy, which is different than, I mean, it's related, but I feel like it's different than the fear of being seen. It was a fear of like not being worthy of receiving this gift from this person playing the flute. And I could see how that manifested in other ways throughout my life, where it really, like, as long as I could keep people at a safe distance and I didn't really give them an opportunity to like fully know me, everything was okay. And again, I think this comes from like that drawing attention and not knowing how to use that in a way that empowered others. That's what contributed to like not feeling worthy, like feeling like it was a bad thing, you know. Another way that I saw that this showed up in my life is like in relationships, because in relationships there was this there was a difference in how much access I allowed that person to have to me, right? Because it's a relationship, it's like one of the closest ways that you allow a person in, well, for me, like into like seeing more aspects of me than what I allowed people in general to see. I would notice how, again, I would get a lot of looks of admiration from my boyfriends at the time, and I couldn't understand it. And I think it was this channel in play. And I once had a comment from a family friend who said, like, what do you do to these guys that, like, once they break up, you break up with them, it's like you break them and they don't want anybody else. Like, what are you doing to them? And I was just like, I understand your question, but I don't know. Like, it really left me thinking, because I'm like, I really don't know. But again, I think it was this channel, especially because, like I said, when it was a relationship, I was more available to being seen, and yet at the same time, like when I think back, I'm like, they did not get the full version of myself, because I didn't know that I didn't feel worthy of being seen. So for me, this is really an area where it's been very like eye-opening, and also like I've seen how I've created like a lot of boundaries that ended up being more like walls of like, no, like if you want to get to know me, you're really gonna have to work for it, and you're really gonna have to prove yourself. Kind of like these boundaries with a closed heart, which I feel what I've been seeing a lot lately, especially from projectors, is that there's this kind of like you don't have access to me. And what I'm feeling underneath that is, again, like with a closed heart. And I do believe, like, absolutely, like, don't just let anybody in. But there's a difference between not letting people in with a closed heart versus an open heart. And that's something that I've been working on, like, with doing things from an open heart, setting these boundaries, you know, kind of like, like with access to my energy field, with limits, but with an open heart. And it just feels so much different and lighter. So I thought that was interesting to know, like, that difference. Just it feels subtle, but it makes a really big difference in my opinion. Okay, so let's continue. this is a leadership channel, so even though you might not be interested in being followed, you'll simply set an example of being someone who knows where they're going. And again, like for me, I don't find like I'm interested in having a following. It's not like my goal, and yet because of this channel, like it's just naturally gonna happen. Okay. It's like probably like some of my other channel that just popped up. I went to the mall yesterday, and I was I was practicing "It's Safe to Be Seen," and just within like a few seconds, this lady, like I thought she was handing me a sample, and I had like earbuds in, so I didn't hear what she was saying. So I tried to grab it, she like wouldn't let go of it. So I pull out my earbud, and she like pulled me into, it was like this skincare thing. And she kept asking me all these questions, and she kept laughing because she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're so honest." And I'm like, okay, I can. It's the other channels, the channel restructuring. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back. We're almost done. Before my lighting goes out. You can impact others with a wonderful sense of creative and an unusual presence. This is where I was. I hadn't even gotten to it yet. You can impact others with a wonderful sense of creative and unusual presence. You might look or dress differently from the crowd. You might love to hear someone, you might not love to hear someone tell you that you remind them of someone, again, because this is an individual circuitry thing. Again, like you being unique and your own person is really important to you, so it might offend you if someone tells you that. I find that I don't get offended, but I do feel like I do feel different, better when comments about like how unique a perspective was are shared with me. That does light me up. Okay, so in conclusion, you're here to be unique, and it's about inspiration that comes from the soul. Inspiration that comes from the soul. And for me, like I feel it here in the center of my chest, which is the G Center. So like create some awareness and tap into that. Like, do you feel it in your soul? Do you feel it here? You want to be accepted for who you are and be recognized for the contribution you make. Remember that this channel has mutation qualities, so we're looking at change, bringing new things into the world, and being an agent for change can be hard. There's, it can be hard because people collect in the tribe, they don't like change. They like, it's not broke, why fix it? And again, there's a lot of keynotes of like innovation and new, and all those good things that when I think of like, oh, what's a new way we could do this? Like I love that, but not everybody's ready for that. So there's definitely a challenge of articulating paradigms that are new, because they're so new and like they're in here, like we have no proof for them. It could take time for us to be able to share that with others. So we want to wait for the invitation, and if we're not waiting for the right recognition, we run the risk of sharing from that deep place of the soul and not being valued or heard, which can be very painful. Like it literally feels like a pain here in your heart, in your G Center. So that's all I have for now. I know I feel like this was a little more fast-paced than the other two videos I did. This is the third one I've done, but it's because like I didn't want to lose lighting. If you watch the video on the channel of awareness, you'll understand. But anyways, I think that's pretty much, I think I covered everything I wanted to say. If you have any insights, any personal experiences you want to share, if you do have this channel, If there's any takeaways that you want to practice or play with in your personal life, feel free to leave a comment down below. I would love hearing from you. And yeah, I think that's it. You can also find me on Instagram. My handle is @JamieSalcedo. There you can find more information on ways to work with me. And okay, that's it for y'all. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day, and thank you so much for watching this, and I will see you in the next video. Meatball, did I bore you? Meatball. Baby. Hi. Oh, look at these paws. Look at a sleepy kitty. Hi. Are you so handsome? Are you so handsome? Hi. Oh, that sleepy baby.